right, Luke, UFC 321 around the corner. I got to ask you, man, how do you rate this card? We've got a pretty top-heavy card here. We've got Aspinall and Ciryl Gane. It's really good to see Aspinall actually in this position to defend his belt. Gane is, of course, a guy that, makes a fun and interesting sort of matchup. We've got Umar on the card. We've got Volkov and Almeida. Obviously, there's a women's strawweight title fight. Dern, can she realize her potential to become a champion here? How do you rate this card out of 10?
I'll be happy when I don't have to pay for these anymore. Put it back on for just a second, if you don't mind. Because here's why. Here's why I say that.
Yeah.
If this were a fight night card, and I know that they don't typically do them with a title fight, but just hear me out. If this were a fight night card, and I know in January for America, this will be no longer a relevant consideration. But if in a world where pay-per-view still exists and this is not a pay-per-view, well, this is an absolutely wonderful card, right? So you've got two title fights. Second one has no buzz. It's a rematch, but it's a worthwhile fight to have now that the champion who was there left the weight class. Umar is not fighting a quote-unquote sexy opponent, but he needs it to get back to a title fight. Volkov and Almeida, I guess it has to happen at heavyweight. It's kind of a weird fight, but whatever. Rakic versus Murzakanov is actually pretty interesting because I don't know if Rakic is coming or going, but Murzakanov might be on his way. That prelim main event with Klein and Rombechki is just going to be a bloodbath probably because that's the only fights that Rombechki ever has. And then Alaskarov and Park Jun-yong is going to be probably a slugfest as long as it lasts. Now, your mileage may vary for the rest of that card. Chris Barnett's on it. That's always kind of fun. And then Mizuki Inoue is kind of an interesting fighter as well. But, there are plenty of quality fights on that. There are not the kind of premium fights that I would want to pay a bunch of money to see. But I'm happy to take something like that in a world where they're free, and soon they will be. So
I think Aspinall and Gane, great to see Tom Aspinall back in the mix, but I think a lot of people are guessing that, at some point early on in the first couple of rounds, Aspinall's going to get Ciryl down on the ground and potentially submit him. If you're Ciryl Gane here, we saw his in the gym. He's trying to improve his jiu-jitsu. He's trying to be a better version of himself than what we saw against John Jones. What do you think is the path to victory here for Gane if he wants to try and stop Aspinall from doing that in this fight?
The takedown defense has got to be first and foremost among them. Footwork has got to be, you got to make Aspinall take chances. The jabbing, the front kicking, the leg kicking and angling off, the jabbing and angling off is going to be really important. Like, think about the attentiveness with which Max Holloway, ever seen him where he's fully locked in and he's jabbing and circling and his eyes are always looking? Like, that kind of an approach, I think, for Gane could be pretty important because it is A, what he does well typically when he's doing it, and B, I think, just the reality is you have to make Aspinall make mistakes. And I think he's willing to make them by rushing his offense, make him do it. You know what I mean? And then you have to be ready to kind of intercept him as a consequence. But I think staying off the bottom, staying off of him, having a tight waist, putting him at the end of your jab, circling, and then tiring him out, and then putting pressure on later for a guy who has not seen deep waters in the UFC. That's where you have to kind of really put it on him. You have to slowly kind of drain him and then take over late.
Can you imagine a world where Gane goes out there and beats Tom Aspinall? Like, I can't even imagine that world, but that would flip everything on its head.
It's unlikely, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I've said this a million times. Like, the reason why John had to fight Aspinall because Aspinall was the guy. But it wasn't because I thought, oh, there's no way John can win. I mean, I would still favor Tom to win, to be clear. But I'm just saying there's a lot about him that's not known. And some of the stuff that is known, with his chin up in the air, dude, like, these are real that's not, like, no one's been able to take advantage of it yet. Someone might be able to. Again, first person to make a mistake typically at this level is the one that's going to do it. It's just that we've seen Gane make a gazillion mistakes, and typically Aspinall's fights don't go long enough for that to happen. But styles make fights. I guess we'll see.
You think Aspinall is going to try to show us some of the improvements in his striking in this one early, or do you think it's just going to be about setting up that takedown, getting this done as quickly as possible for him?
He might feel him out a little bit. Gane's not a one-hitter quitter necessarily, so he might feel him out a little bit, but I definitely feel like he's going to try and take him down. I mean, just given what John Jones did to him, You know, even if you've been working steadily since then, he turned in a bad grappling performance against Volkov too. Like, you'd be stupid not to take it down. He's credible as a threat on his feet. He is not credible as a threat on the ground. Certainly not on the defensive side. So put him there.
I wouldn't for Gane would obviously be beating Tom Aspinall any way that he can find it. But do you think that if Gane goes out there, is able to survive a number of rounds, show us some improvement in his game, even though he goes out losing, do you think that would be a little bit of a win for him? Because I guess the worst case scenario for him here is a repeat of this whole John Jones fight happening again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if he gives it, yeah, that's right. I think if he gives Aspinall, you know, I won't say a tough fight, but a commendable effort, you know, somebody who does, and he doesn't, this is the part too, like, just don't make bad decisions. Don't make bad grappling decisions. Don't make decisions that make you look like a fish out of water, right? That's the issue. But if he does, you know, what Gane can do on the feet with his jab and his movement, and Aspinall has to like problem solve around that, that's different. You just don't want to be made to look like a fool. You don't want to be made to look like, you know, you're only in this position because you're competing in a division full of donks. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, not Aspinall's not that, but, you know, like you look down that list and it's like, it's not too far before you get into the guys who, you know, are getting picked last at the YMCA games, basketball games. So, you know what I mean? So, like, what you need to avoid is a situation where you look out of your depth. But if Tom's just better and puts it on him, I don't think there's going to be too much belly aching about that.
I guess the big question is going to be what happens next if he wins. So we've obviously got, you know, Volkov and Almeida on the card. I'm just going to bring up the rankings as well for those that haven't seen the heavyweight rankings in a while. It is a bit of a barren wasteland. What do you think happens next for Tom Aspinall here with a win, Luke? Realistically, who do you think he defends his belt against next? Is it the Almeida Volkov winner from the same card?
Probably. Especially if either of them gets a finish, you know, more so Volkov, because he kind of got cheated. But I didn't think Gane beat him. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably your answer. Almeida could steal it, but it's going to be Volkov. And we know the answer about like, oh, well, hasn't Aspinall fought Volkov? Yes, took him down. I think did a straight armbar on him pretty quickly. Like, yeah, it's not great, but this is just where we're at. It's where we're at.
But if you're in that situation, right, and, you know, Alex Pereira, he wants to go up to heavyweight, he wants to fight John Jones, who knows what's going to happen with that whole situation? Does he end up in a situation where maybe he even gets the next shot due to the lack of options for Tom Aspinall? I mean, Volkov is a interesting-ish kind of fight, but those guys have fought each other a number of times. I don't know.
I just don't think people are trying to be like, isn't there a scenario where we can avoid what is staring us in the face? No, I don't think there is. I mean, unless Poatan comes up or some other 205ers go up, that could change the equation a little bit, right? Some 205ers migrate up, maybe. But as it stands, you know, got Gane, which I think this is a good fight. So, you know, I'm liking it. I think Volkov is certainly massively improved. This is just what the division looks like. They need to get Anatoly Malikin in here. They need to get Francis back. They need to, like, you know, if you're just going to leave it to what the division is, then I don't know what is there to get excited about. And I'm being serious.
You got a huge star in development here in Tom Aspinall. So if you're looking at this whole Pereira Jones Aspinall three-way triangle thing, do you think it's more likely we see a Pereira Jones fight come together than an Aspinall Jones fight?
I mean, here's the interesting part about it. One of my viewers brought this up on the live chat. It looks kind of bad for Tom if they go with John and Poatan, because it kind of makes it look like that's the important part of heavyweight, and there's no way to guarantee that winner will fight him. You know, especially if it's John. Yeah. Like, there's just no way to guarantee it. So, and folks will be like, oh, well, the UFC could make him. No, they couldn't. Oh, they could strip him. Well, there'd be no belt on the line. What are you going to strip? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's no way to make that. They are independent contractors. They can decline a bout. There's nothing you can do. And they've tried this pinky promise thing. That's what they did with St. Pierre when he fought Bisping at 85. And he was supposed to fight Whitaker after that. And he was like, nah, I'm not doing that shit. So Whitaker never got a chance to fight GSP. That's what actually happened. So, you know, that's a real thing. On the other hand, here's what makes it different, in my view. when John was ducking Aspinall, which again, we don't need to relitigate it, but that is what happened. It made the Pereira fight look like what John was trying to do was cherry pick, right? He was trying to avoid Aspinall so he could get a guy who had never even fought in that division to come up to face him, who's got a bigger name, and at least in theory would not have the takedown defense required to deal with his kind of threat. It was perceived that John was avoiding the difficult challenge for a more manageable, but maybe electrifying, but more manageable challenge. And that fell apart when John retired, and then they stripped him, and then he came back, and it was just the whole thing kind of just disintegrated. Plus, at that time, Poatan, I think, had already lost to Ankalaev at that point, so his stock was kind of in a wishy-washy place. But then he beats Ankalaev, he gets his title back, he does it in triumphant fashion, and the real difference to me is now Poatan is using the capital that he's built to advocate and lobby for the Jones fight too, rather than kind of being a piece that was being used by John in his ploy to duck Aspinall. Now it has its own life, and it has its own life by someone who's coming off of a win independent of John, who wants to meet on those terms. Like, because Poatan is now lobbying for it, now lobbying for it, I think that changes the equation. In the end, does the UFC want to rely on John for that card? And I don't know how they are going to view such a thing. But the point I'm trying to make is Poatan's advocacy for the fight, coming off of a championship title win and this regained enthusiasm, to me changes the stakes considerably.
All right, guys, I just want to thank Manscaped for bringing you this content and supporting Submission Radio. Of course, you guys could go to Manscaped right now, use the code word submission for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. And I'm talking about the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The white hot version isn't just another pretty face. It's built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation where it matters most. Whether you're cleaning things up for a date, a trip, or just to feel a bit more put together, the white hot trimmer makes below the waist grooming a whole lot smoother with a clean white and gold finish that just looks as good as it shaves. Join the over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped now. Use the code word submission, 15% off. It's one of the best looking trimmers out there. And of course, go on the website right now. They have all sorts of great products you could apply the discount code to, from the bead hedger to the weed whacker to the most comfortable underwear and t-shirts. Manscaped has you sorted. Again, the white hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat without cooking your skin. If you don't have one today, why not get the white hot 5.0 Ultra today? It brings the heat without cooking your skin. It's sleek, it's easy to use, way less terrifying than whatever you were using before. Use the code word submission, 15% off and free shipping. That's code word submission, 15% off and free shipping, and you're supporting yourself and the program. Go do it today. And now back to the program. And there's always that off chance that if they do fight each other and Poatan wins, then he'll fight Tom Aspinall for the belt. Like, Poatan he'd be keen on having a crack at
it. He might, but again, the problem is you can't guarantee that. That's the issue.
What kind of world are we living in, Luke, where you have to convince people to fight for the belt in your division? It's just the craziest. It's boxing. It's boxing in the UFC, basically, and it's just insane. Just quickly on Umar and Mario Batista, man. Umar coming back. A lot of people believed he would beat Merab and become the champion of the division. What are you anticipating here from Umar? Because Mario Batista is a little bit like a party pooper, right? People don't really anticipate how tough and good he really is. It's going to be far from an easy fight for Umar to come back to. There's definitely going to be some questions that need to be answered. And, for Mario Batista, he's not going to go out easy in this one.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for Umar because he needs to get a win back. He didn't perform poorly against Merab. I thought he was winning that fight early, but it got away from him. I think this is, Mario is very good. I think he's tough to look good against. Certain guys are tough to look good against. I think he's one of them.
Ankalaev, yeah.
Yeah, Ankalaev's another one of those guys. Yeah, well, I mean, but the difference is Ankalaev makes more errors than Bautista. Bautista doesn't make a lot of mistakes, not huge ones anyway. But Ankalaev will, But in the case of Bautista, I think that the things he's good at, Umar is better. So it's a real tough matchup for him. He's going to be a dog. He's going to make it competitive. He's going to be in your face. He's going to make you work. but I just feel like Umar's too slick. So the challenge is, it's for people who know, beating Bautista is actually like, wow, that's a really good win. I know he's not popular with the fans, but the tape on him is pretty good, very good in certain cases. It's just, you know, it's going to be interesting what Merab wants. If Merab wants a super fight and he doesn't want Umar, if Umar beats him and Umar didn't look all that great against Mario because he's hard to look good against, that could be interesting. But I just feel like one way or the other, these two are going to fight again. I really believe that. I don't know if it'll be after this fight or not, but I do believe that.
Yeah, Umar saying he wants to come back in January or Feb, and Merab fighting in December might be a quick turnaround. But then he wants to fight like 5 times next year, so I guess the fight would have to happen eventually in a rematch between this version of Merab that we just saw against Corey Sandhagen, and I'm guessing we'll see what happens with Umar against Batista. But in a rematch, do you think it would look similar, or do you think that now that Umar has been in there with Merab and can kind of sort of tweak a few of the things that went wrong with him in that first fight, he could potentially be even more dangerous for Merab if they rematch?
I think it would look a lot like the first one. The issue that really held, first of all, the two big issues were, one, Merab's takedown defense, I think, proved quite difficult, but that is related to the other point, which is that the labor that Umar had to go through was too draining for him. I don't think he was prepared cardiovascular. I mean, he had trained hard, but Merab is a unique challenge in this way. That's just the reality. I don't think he was quite ready for that. So to me, he is plenty skilled. It's a question of being able to handle the labor. And I think that's the issue. I don't think the fight's going to look that different. I mean, you know, it might look a little bit different here and there, but it'll probably look fairly similar. It's just a question of, can Umar make up the difference from a cardiovascular standpoint? And that, I don't know the answer to that.
Is he willing to do 10 rounds of live sparring before fighting Merab?
Again, if your name's not Merab, I don't even think that's a good idea. That seems like a bad idea.
John Wood was like, I was like, like they were full going at each other, Luke, on the day of the fight for 10 rounds. Unbelievable stuff. Just quickly as well, Dern, she's trying to realize, you know, her championship goals here on the card. She's taking on Jandiroba. Obviously, they fought each other 5 years ago, but now Jandiroba on a 5-fight streak. What do you think of this rematch? Do you think Dern can actualize her potential here and get the belt at the big event?
Yes, I think this is the best she's looked. She's better in pure jiu-jitsu than Jandiroba. I don't think she's as well-rounded as an MMA fighter as Jandiroba, but that might not matter. Dern is got a good chin. She has better takedowns now. So again, on the ground, it takes care of itself. It's 5 rounds, so she's got a lot of time to find that opportunity. Yes, this is as good an opportunity as she, I'll put it that way, right? It's as good as it's going to get for her. If this isn't it, then it just can't be done. Truly.
She's somewhat popular, man. She's got a following on social media. She's had a lot of hype around her. If she does become the face of the division, do you think she's someone that can kind of bring a bit more excitement to it? Maybe make it a little bit.
One person can't fix this. I mean, you're saying, like, you know, Ronda did it, and that's true, you know, but like Ronda isn't. I mean, I guess she's kind of known for her Betch Correia fights, but not really. Ronda is known for the wars with, or at least the rivalry anyway, with Miesha Tate. You know, she's known for, you know, yeah, there's some of the amazing throws over, or the knee to the body against Sarah McMahon, or, you know, Alexis Davis getting spun over here. That's fine. But like, what she's really known for are the bigger names that she fought, wins and losses. Like, you need rivalry. You need a partner. You need, you know, those things. And certainly Dern being at the top of the division, yes. Does that put the wind at the UFC's back with that division a little bit? Of course. It's not enough. You need other players. You need to have a division. That's, or not, you know, not top to bottom, but good chunks of it where there can be rivalry.
I wonder if maybe Wei Lee comes back down the track.
Could be.
God, I don't even know. It's heavyweight, that weight class. It's just
MMA needs some help, brother.
yeah, just start signing people, guys. All right, man. As we wrap up, what is happening? This is obviously coming out on the week of the big pay-per-view. What is happening this week? You've got the pre-game with Chuck Mindenhall. That's on Morning Combat.
Yeah.
You revealed that to me on the live show.
That's right.
That's going to be massive. And then you got the live watch along on the day of the fight, which I always love. Those are one of my favorites to watch too. What else is cooking?
I've got a big interview for my Substack on Monday. It won't be out till that Tuesday. But that'll be a big one. That's actually I cannot.
Is this the Luke Thomas gets political one, or is this MMA?
This would be political, although it might have some MMA overlap. So that's a big one. That's one you're going to want to pay attention to. Yeah.
All right. So make sure to subscribe. The link is below. Of course, join up to the Substack. The best in the game, Luke Thomas. Thanks for joining me, man.
Anytime, Brad.